How long can a person survive inside a sauna heated to 200 degrees Fahrenheit? In less than an hour, 3 people trapped inside are already severely dehydrated. The door is jammed shut, the temperature controls are outside, and worst of all, the heat keeps climbing. This is times 247 degrees Fahrenheit, a movie that turns one out-of-control sauna into a nerve-wracking fight for survival. 3 years earlier, Jenna was driving home with her fiancé, Jamie. They were talking about their future when another car suddenly slammed into them head-on. Jenna survived, but Jamie never woke up. Ever since the accident, she's been haunted by what happened. She's terrified of tight spaces and relies on medication to control her anxiety. Hoping to take her mind off things, Jenna's best friend, Renee, invites her to spend the weekend in the countryside. Renee brings her boyfriend, Mike, and Mike brings along his friend, Ian, a quiet, aspiring writer who's interested in Jenna. The 4 take a boat to a cabin by the lake. The place is run by Ian's uncle, Wade, and that night, the nearby town is holding a May Day festival. Wade is busy getting the fireworks ready. After welcoming everyone, Wade heads out with his dog to finish setting things up. Renee and Mike sneak upstairs, leaving Jenna and Ian alone in the living room. They both know Renee is trying to set them up, but neither one knows what to say, so they turn to alcohol and music to fill the awkward silence. The group plans to relax at the cabin before heading to the party that night. Wanting to loosen up, Jenna decides not to take the medication she brought with her. She has no idea this decision will make her anxiety much harder to control later. After dinner, Mike spots a sauna next to the cabin and immediately talks everyone into trying it. Jenna is hesitant, but the others keep pushing. In the end, she takes off the necklace Jamie gave her, changes clothes, and joins them. At first, everyone is having a great time. Ian pours a ladle of water over the hot stones, sending a cloud of steam into the air as the temperature quickly rises. Soon, they get so hot that they run outside and jump into the freezing lake. Once they start shivering, they rush back into the sauna to warm up. But while everyone else is having fun, Mike keeps drinking until he can barely think straight. After they climb out of the lake, a drunk Mike starts bothering Renee and tries to drag her back to the cabin. Renee is already hot and uncomfortable, so she refuses. Before long, the two are yelling at each other. Renee finally turns around and walks back into the sauna. Jenna and Ian follow her while Mike storms off, embarrassed and angry. Inside the sauna, the other 3 are getting ready to leave. But when Ian pushes the door, it opens just a crack before hitting something outside. He pulls it shut and tries again with more force. This time, the door won't move at all. At first, they assume Mike is playing some stupid prank. Renee shouts through the door, telling him to move whatever he put there, but no one answers. The air inside grows heavier, and Jenna starts struggling to breathe. Memories of the crash come rushing back as her claustrophobia takes over. She pounds on the door, crying and begging to be let out. That's when Renee realizes Jenna never took her medication. The rising heat is making Renee irritable too, and she starts saying some cruel things. Ian tries to calm Jenna down and reminds Renee not to waste her energy. The real problem is that none of them knows what's happening outside. Their phones and belongings are all back in the cabin. Wade also thinks they've already left for the party, so he has no reason to come looking for them anytime soon. All they have inside are 2 bottles of water and a little more in the bucket. Ian tells them to take small sips and move as little as possible. Once their bodies can no longer cool themselves, they'll start feeling dizzy and sick before eventually losing consciousness. Knowing that doesn't help though. The temperature is still rising. Desperate to escape, Ian starts slamming his body against the door. But whatever is blocking it from outside is wedged in tight, and even after several attempts, it doesn't budge. Renee notices the thermostat on the wall and thinks smashing it might shut off the heat. Ian removes the cover, only to discover that the actual controls are mounted outside. All he can see inside are the sensors. If they damage those sensors, the heater may stop detecting the room's temperature and automatically switch to full power. That means they may not survive long enough for anyone to rescue them. No one wants to gamble with their lives, so they keep looking for another way out. In a panic, Renee grabs a wooden ladle and starts smashing the window. But the glass is much stronger than she expected. Ian wraps towels around his hands, removes a burning hot stone from the heater, and drops it into the water to cool it down. Then he repeatedly slams it against the window. The stone burns his hands, leaving them blistered and bleeding. But he finally manages to crack a small hole in the glass. Cold air pours in, and all three crowd around the opening, gasping for breath. Then Ian realizes they may have made another mistake. The cold air could trick the thermostat into thinking the room is cooling down. If that happens, the heater will keep running. The hole gives them fresh air for now, but it may also make the temperature rise even faster. Looking through the opening, Ian finally sees the wooden ladder blocking the door. He wraps the stone in a towel, pushes it through the hole, and swings it back and forth. But the opening is too small, and the angle is all wrong. The ladder still doesn't move. As Ian searches for another way out, the light fixture above him gives him an idea. He thinks the light and the heater may be connected to the same electrical circuit. If he can cause a short circuit, he might be able to cut the power. Ian soaks a towel and reaches up toward the wires inside the light fixture. A powerful electric shock shoots through his body, and he drops to the floor. The light goes out, leaving the room completely dark. But the heater keeps running. The light and heater are on separate circuits. Jenna and Renee quickly drag Ian over to the window so he can breathe the cold air. After what feels like forever, he finally wakes up. Every escape attempt has failed, and the three begin to accept that help may not arrive in time. Renee finally calms down and apologizes to Jenna for the cruel things she said. But even though they've made peace, their bodies are quickly giving out. Meanwhile, Wade is outside near the cabin preparing the fireworks with his dog. The dog hears noises coming from the sauna and starts barking in that direction. Jenna, Renee, and Ian hear the dog and immediately crowd around the window, screaming for help. But at that exact moment, Wade sets off the fireworks. The explosions completely drown out their voices. Wade assumes the dog is only scared by the noise and never goes near the sauna to check. A little later, Mike wakes up. When he notices that Jenna, Renee, and Ian are gone, he assumes they ditched him and went to the party without him. So he heads there alone. But when he arrives, he finds out that everyone needs an invitation to get in, and Renee has the only one. Unable to enter, Mike returns to the cabin and complains to Wade about the others leaving him behind. Wade believes his story and assumes the three really are at the party. He takes Mike down to the lake to talk, while Jenna, Renee, and Ian remain trapped just a short distance away. They know help is right outside, but no matter how loudly they scream, no one can hear them. At that point, their last bit of hope disappears. They've run out of water, and Renee starts vomiting as she becomes more and more disoriented. Convinced the thermostat is their only way out, she grabs the stone and tries to smash it. Jenna rushes over to stop her, and the two lose their balance during the struggle. The stone in Jenna's hand accidentally strikes Renee in the head. Renee falls to the floor and stops moving. Believing she has killed her best friend, Jenna completely breaks down. Ian finally admits that everything he said about the thermostat was only a theory. No one really knows what will happen if they destroy it. Overcome with anger, Jenna smashes the thermostat anyway. To their horror, the heater immediately switches to full power. The numbers keep climbing until the sauna reaches 247 degrees Fahrenheit, nearly 119 degrees Celsius. By now, the heat has left Ian confused and barely aware of his surroundings. He lunges at the heater and desperately shakes the metal unit filled with stones, trying to make it stop. The burning metal sears his skin, but Ian keeps pulling as if he can't even feel the pain. A second later, the heater explodes, killing him instantly. After the blast, a dazed Jenna sees the sauna door open. She walks into the cabin, grabs a bottle of ice-cold water, and starts drinking. Then something impossible happens. The cabin suddenly disappears. When Jenna opens her eyes again, she's still lying inside the sauna. The door never opened. Everything she just saw was a hallucination caused by the extreme heat. Even worse, the blast has ruptured the heater's gas line, and the sharp-smelling gas is now leaking into the room. Jenna notices that Renee is still breathing. She immediately drags her over to the broken window, tears up a towel, and ties her in place beside the opening so she can keep breathing fresh air. To plug the leaking pipe, Jenna covers her mouth and nose with a wet cloth and crawls toward the heater with the broken wooden ladle. Her first attempt fails, so she retreats to the window for air before crawling back to try again. At last, she manages to wedge the wooden handle into the pipe. Then, she collapses beside Renee. Near dawn, Mike heads back toward the cabin. Only then does the movie reveal exactly how the door became trapped. When Mike left earlier, he accidentally knocked over the wooden ladder beside the entrance. At first, it was leaning at an angle, which is why Ian could open the door slightly on his first try. But when Ian pulled the door shut and pushed again, the ladder slid into a groove in the floor and completely jammed it. No one intentionally trapped them. The entire tragedy came from one careless move by a drunk man. Not long afterward, Wade returns to the cabin and finally notices the broken window. He looks inside and immediately calls for help. Jenna and Renee are carried out of the sauna. As they lie on separate stretchers, they continue holding each other's hands. Ian never makes it out. The movie's ratings aren't especially high, and some of the escape attempts don't hold up if you think about them too much. But what truly makes the story disturbing is the reminder that sometimes danger comes without any warning at all.